Before we dive into our message for today, let's check out this video.
Saul and his son Jonathan led the Israelite troops to fight God's enemies, the Philistines. Early in the day, Jonathan and his servant won a great battle, and the Philistine army was scared. Saul was eager to attack while they were scared. Saul made his troops promise not to eat any food until the battle was over. Saul said, "The man who eats food before I punish my enemies is cursed." So none of the troops ate any food. Saul's son Jonathan saw some honey on the ground. He had not heard the instructions from his father Saul, so he ate some of the honey. When Saul learned what he had done, he wanted to punish Jonathan. But the rest of the Israelite army defended Jonathan, so that Saul did not harm him. And Saul stopped chasing after the Philistines, and the Philistines went back to their land. Later, Samuel came and shared the words of the Lord with Saul. God said, "I remember what the Amalekites did to Israel many years ago. Now attack the Amalekites and completely destroy them. Do not leave any of their animals alive." Saul and his army attacked the Amalekites. They captured King Agag, and they kept the best of the sheep, cattle, and other animals alive. They were not willing to destroy them. They only destroyed the worthless or unwanted things. The Lord said to Samuel, "I regret that I made Saul king because he did not obey my instructions." Samuel was angry. Early in the morning, Samuel went to confront Saul. When Saul saw Samuel coming, he said, "May the Lord bless you. I have done what God asked." Samuel replied, "Why then do I hear the sounds of sheep, goats, and cattle?" Saul said, "The troops brought those animals from the Amalekites. We plan to sacrifice them to the Lord." "Stop!" exclaimed Samuel. "Last night the Lord told me that he called you, an unimportant young man, to become the leader of all of Israel. Then he sent you on a mission and told you to completely destroy the Amalekites. So why didn't you obey the Lord?" "But I did obey the Lord," Saul answered. "I went on the mission and defeated the Amalekites. The troops took the animals to sacrifice to the Lord." Samuel replied, "Does the Lord take more pleasure in sacrifices of animals or in obedience? To obey is better than sacrifice. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king." Saul disobeyed God's commands and was rejected as king. We all disobey God's commands when we sin. Only Jesus perfectly obeyed God at all times. When we believe in Jesus, we are made right with God and accepted by him.
So in our video today, we learned that Saul disobeyed God, made a really, really big mistake. And I wanted to share with you a really big mistake that I made when I was about 4 years old. When I was 4 years old, this was way, way, way long ago, back in the 70s. And back in the 70s, it was really cool for guys to have really long hair. And so my mom let my hair grow really, really long. And I had platinum blonde curly hair. And I remember we went to the bank. And the bank teller looked at my mom and said, "Your daughter is so cute. What's her name?" And my heart just hurt. And I even turned a little bit angry. I'm like, there's a problem here that I need to fix. "Mom, would you cut my hair?" "No, Tig, your hair is beautiful. We're not going to cut it." I'm like, "Oh, we're going to cut it." And so when my mom wasn't looking, I grabbed some scissors. I went to the bathroom and just started cutting chunks out of my hair, like my mom would not notice. And then, because I didn't want her to see the evidence, because I looked around and there was just hair all over the floor, just beautiful curly blonde hair. So I gathered up all of the curly blonde hair and I wrapped it up in a tissue and placed it and hid it in the trash. Just proud of how the fact that I didn't look like a girl anymore, I walked out of the bathroom and my mom screamed, "Tig, what did you do?" I'm like, "Nothing." So it's like, "Who cut your hair?" I'm like, I don't know, nobody. So my mom goes into the bathroom, and she finds this tissue paper, and she comes out and she goes, Tig, here's the evidence. I see it right here. You cut your hair. Well, now I was faced with the obvious truth that I was the one who did this. I have to own this. So now I tried to fix it. Well, Mom, she called me a girl. I'm not a girl. I didn't want to be a girl anymore, and you made it look like I was. And so I was trying to fix it. So I tried to fix the solution. My mom didn't think that was not an appropriate response, and so my mom needed to fix the situation. So to this day, I have no idea where my mom hid the scissors. Saul made a really big mistake in our story today. God told him, I want you to go to the enemy that I remember from long ago, and I want you to destroy everything. Leave nothing behind. And so Saul, in the process of doing that, recognized, well, there's some really cool sheep and goats and oxen, lots of livestock that I'd really like to have myself. And so he disobeyed God, and he didn't destroy all of the livestock. Instead, he took it and saved it for himself. And Samuel approaches King Saul, and he says, Saul, why did you disobey God? Why did you not destroy all the livestock? Why did you keep some of it? And Saul was like, I didn't keep any livestock. And Saul was like, why do I hear them? Why do I hear them? So now King Saul has to fix this situation. He has to make up an excuse as to why he did this. And he said, well, I was going to use all of those really nice, beautiful, delicious-looking animals, not for me. And so he lies, and he says, I kept them so I could sacrifice them to God. Now, King Saul tried to fix the situation, and now God needs to fix the situation. And God wishes that he had never made Saul king, and so he needs a new king. And so at this point in time, this is where the last straw for Saul happens. And God's made the decision that Saul's family will no longer reign on the throne, but there'll be a new family. We're going to learn who that new family is really soon. But Saul loses it. He loses his kingship. And I think this is a really important story for all of us because God has given us all things that we're supposed to do. He's given us his law, his commands, but we can't seem to keep them all the time, and we make mistakes. As boys and girls, we make mistakes. As moms and dads and grandparents, we make mistakes. And so sometimes it can be tempting to pretend like we didn't make any mistakes. We don't talk about it. We hide it. But God knows and God sees. And it's like the sound. God knows that we've sinned. And he comes to us and says, why did you disobey me? And sometimes we can be like Saul, and we can be like me when I was really, really young, and we can make excuses, or we can blame other people and try to not take credit for what we've done wrong. And so we try to fix it, but we can't, and so God has to fix it. And the Bible tells us that the wages of sin, the mistakes that we make, the punishment that we deserve is death. But God, in his mercy and in his compassion, does not want us to pay that price. But a price still has to be paid. And so he sent his son, Jesus, to be that price in our place, that by his suffering and death on the cross, he took our place and paid the price in our place, in full, so that he could tell us, I forgive you. And the forgiveness of God is so incredibly important and powerful in our life. And it allows us to forgive those around us. Now, there's still sometimes natural consequences. Like King Saul, he lost his kingship. Sometimes when we sin against other people, we lose trust, we damage relationships. Things sometimes have to happen. But there's forgiveness. And there's forgiveness in our relationship with God, and that is instantaneous. The moment we come to him in confession and we say, God, I'm sorry for breaking your laws. I'm sorry for being disobedient. Please forgive me. In an instant, that grace is yours in full. It doesn't take time. It's not a slow effect. It's an instant effect that you are washed clean and made new. So we can remember that when we make mistakes, it's important for us not to try to pretend like we didn't. It's important that we don't make excuses for why we did what we did, but it's important that we come to God in confession to say, I'm sorry. It's important when we are in our relationships with our family, when we make a mistake, to tell our moms and dads, I'm sorry. It's even important as our moms and dads to, when they make mistakes, to tell our kids, I'm sorry. And we have this rule in our home that when somebody says, I'm sorry, we don't respond by saying, it's okay, or don't worry about it, or it's no big deal. We have a family rule that we say, I forgive you. Because those words are so incredibly powerful. Because when we confess our sins to God, he doesn't say, okay. That's no big deal. It was a really small sin. That's not that bad. It's not as bad as Aaron. But he says, I forgive you. And when he forgives us, he washes our sins away as far as the east is from the west, and they are no more. He remembers them no more. So when you have an apology in your home, I encourage you to adopt our family rule, that when somebody says, I'm sorry, you say, I forgive you.